on the wall to hang in the dark of some parliamentary hall. Elegant clothes you want to be seen with under your tweeds. You sweat like a teenager, begging you to sit for a portrait on the wall to hang in the dark of some parliamentary hall. Today's for you. They laid it out for you, for you. There will be 6,000 in what we've seen. But this feels so natural, it again. All of the costs and all of the time it took, soon it's all lines of red in a leather book, begging you to wait for a minute by the door. Your creeping feet where they've never been before. Today's for you. They laid it out for you, for you. There will be 6,000 in what we've seen for you. But this feels so natural, it gave you. Pepper spray, my guns in my pocket 'cause it's for Tuesday. I say, hey, Mr. Spark, can I get your spot? The block too hot, no parking lot. The Joker cop said you can take my cash. The boys on the block got us for my ass. I got to be unstoppable. I got to be unstoppable. Hey, 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 you don't lie. Hey, 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 you don't lie. I got to be unstoppable.
Unstoppable. Good morning. Good morning. Good. Oh shit. Gas pumps. Great. Great.
Checking the forecast here on our Wednesday.
Hey, good morning. We have some nice temperatures. I know it's been cloudy and cool to start, and then we get into the afternoon. And if you're in some of these inland spots, by the time we get to the sunshine, it is feeling warm and pretty nice out. So I do hope you've been enjoying at least the afternoons if you don't like the overcast start. And you can tell it's already cloudy over downtown LA, but it's a warm start in Palm Springs. We're going to get close to 100 degrees there today. So quite different from what a lot of us are dealing with. 73 degrees at the moment. Big Bear, the mountain's still dealing with some pretty chilly overnight lows, 37 degrees at the moment. It's about 60 down into Anaheim, 57 for Van Nuys, and about 55 over into Pasadena. So all in all, it is pretty cool to start. We will have some winds pick up a little later today into early tomorrow morning for the I-5 corridor and the Antelope Valley foothills. One of those places that we just kind of have been getting them lately. Gusts up to about 50 miles per hour. They're going to come in from the northwest, and it might help to clear that marine layer out a little quicker for some spots compared to yesterday. So that could be why we see some faster clearing. Models are a little bit in disagreement on what's going to happen with that marine layer today, so I'll show you in just a moment. But we are still keeping things pretty mild and on the cooler side for some spots because we still have this trough, this weak trough that's over the west. It's also helping to keep things cool at the coast and also a little cloudy with some of this onshore push. So as we head into this afternoon and we get closer to lunchtime, this is looking at about 11 a.m. It does look like some of the northern valleys and far out into the Inland Empire, we're seeing some sunshine. Then we get into a little later today, about 2 p.m., and it just looks like some of these clouds are hanging around some of the coastline again. So some of the beaches will stay cloudy today with that marine layer, and we probably won't get to see too much sunshine, but most of us seen some sun by about 2 o'clock today. And then as we head into the overnight hours, those clouds will just roll right back in. We might have even less of it tomorrow morning. We won't get rid of it, though. We will still have clouds to start. It's just going to be the difference of clearing a little quicker certain days, and it won't be a huge difference either way. 84 in San Bernardino today. It's going to be about 77 in Temecula, though. And then Big Bear should be pretty nice, 74. But Barstow, 96 degrees. Pretty warm out that way. 67 in Huntington Beach. Pasadena, pretty nice today, 75 and 74 over into Glendale. 76 Simi, same for Fillmore, and a mild 73 degrees if you're over into Ojai. Los Angeles and Orange County, we do have a little warmer weather tomorrow with some mid to upper 70s. Might get a little faster clearing tomorrow, too, with that marine layer. And then we get into the weekend and we just cool it off a couple degrees again, and then some slight warming next week. So we go up and down just a couple degrees each day, but we stay in those 70s all week. Valleys and Inland Empire a little warmer tomorrow. We're going to see probably a little more in the way of some 80s. And then as we head into the weekend, some slight cooling into next week. Now, it does look like sometime between Monday or Tuesday, we might bump these temperatures up and get back into a little bit of a warming trend. Some valleys are showing that we'll get into some mid 80s by that point. The beaches, mid to upper 60s the next week. So we will have some slight warming here in the coming days as well, but we will still have some cloudy starts. All right, we'll have your mountains and desert forecast in just a little bit. For now, Scott Reif with a look at Rachel and Mark, actually.
So we'll take it from here, Bree. All right, thank you. Let's take a look at our roads while Scott is refueling. Let's go over into the Cajon Pass on the 5 northbound at Oak Hill Road. There is a semi-truck stalled in the number 4 lane. We currently see small delays, but this might affect your drive if you're heading in that direction. And then taking a look at our flyover.
All right. Man, she's beautiful. Whew. All right. So what's going on today? Usually Tuesdays are like my Sundays, so I try to go to bed early. I went to bed early last night. I want to say like 9 o'clock. I went to bed like at 9 maybe. And so this morning there's a thing like somebody threw a refrigerator, and it's my own fault too because I keep, I need to get one of these contractors to build me one of those, gates or fences around the trash bin. That way people can't drive up and throw shit in there or throw shit that's too big in the fucking trash bins. So someone threw a fridge in there, and the trash company, Burtech, instead of, I don't know what they do. It seems like the trash truck that comes every week doesn't haul the big stuff. It just hauls the trash. So anytime anyone throws anything in the trash bin that's too big, they take it out and leave it on the side. And then maybe like a week or will go by, and then it'll disappear. Like maybe the large, item trash truck comes. So I don't know. It must have been yesterday or maybe on Monday. Someone threw a fridge in there, and these fucking assholes, they took the fridge out of the trash bin, but they threw all of the trash, to get to the refrigerator just in the back of the trash bins. So now the trash bins are empty because they unloaded them. But behind the trash bins, there's a shit ton of trash. So I could be an asshole and just leave it for the gardener, because they cleaned up the parking lot for me today. Or I can wait till tomorrow and have my elderly maintenance, the paint, the guy who comes and cleans they clean the laundry room, they touch up the paint for me, but they're old, so I could be a jerk and leave it for them, but I feel bad. So I'm gonna go out there, and it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it, and I'm not like these pussies, Al and Charlie, who fucking look down on people who clean fucking bathrooms or whatever the fuck they think I do. Just because I went to go, stock up some toilet paper, I clean bathrooms. I'm not a fucking snob like these people are. I don't look down on hardworking, working class people.
Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey.
I mean, what kind of worthless piece of shit must you be to make fun of cleaning people, right? Right? Fucking losers. All right, so I gotta go take an Al, so I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna put another song. I'm gonna go take a big Al. So.
When you try your best but you don't succeed, when you get what you want but not what you need, when you feel so tired but you can't sleep, stuck in reverse, and the tears come streaming down your face, when you lose something you can't replace, when you love someone but it goes to waste, could it be worse? Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try down below. When you're too in love to let it go. But if you never try, you'll never know just what you were. Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones. I will try to fix you. See it stream down your face when you lose something you cannot replace. See it stream down your face and see it stream down your face. I promise you I'll never from your mistakes. See it stream down your face. Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you.
Good morning, Nancy. How you doing?
The Icarus Festival and Minneapolis, Minnesota. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
So now, if you think that the college protests don't have an effect, which they do, and how do you know they have an effect? Is because of the overreaction of the establishment. If they didn't have an effect, they would fucking let them go on forever and ever. But the fact that the mayors of all these cities call in the cops and go crack their fucking heads and get rid of them means that they're having a real effect. And what is that effect? Well, the CEO of Palantir, the CIA cutout, is going to tell you what the effect that they're having. Here it is.
I think is a often overlooked part of this battle is we kind of just think these things that are happening across college campuses especially are like a sideshow. No, they are the show. Because if we lose the intellectual debate, you will not be able to deploy any army in the West ever.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. We won't able to deploy our armies? Oh no, how terrible. We won't get to murder civilians and innocent children. You're so hungry. Well, what? You're buying or what? You're buying or what, Coasty? You're gonna fly down on your private jet and pick me up or what? Huh? Mr. Coasty? What was I saying? Anyways, Forgot what I was saying. Damn you, Coasty.
Are like a sideshow. No, they are the show. Because if we lose the intellectual debate, you will not be able to deploy any army in the West ever.
Oh no.
So there you go. Because if they lose the intellectual debate, they'll never be able to do warmongering ever fucking again. But that would be good if that was true.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They've already lost the intellectual debate. And believe me, they're going to keep deploying fucking armies all over the goddamn place. But that's what they're afraid of. That's exactly why it's important that those college students stand up and protest this shit. And the idea that the college students don't know what they're protesting is also bullshit. Of course they do know what they're protesting. It's like, as Mike McRae said, well, if they did know what they were protesting, that would make them right. And we can't have that fucking happen.
Why the hell are you paying for college if you don't know what you're protesting?
That's right. So I don't know how you call slaughtering people winning the intellectual battle, right? Go ahead.
No, and it really does get down to the fact that all these colleges, the profits that they make off this tuition and almost everything goes into a trust, and the trustees invest in hedge funds, and those hedge funds invest in the military-industrial complex.
Weapons.
And most of those are Israeli. So these when you start seeing especially the small colleges.
I learned that from the college kids. I didn't know that until they were protesting.
That's right.
Right? I mean, so when you see these small colleges start, that's the contagion they don't want, because that's a lot of money. If you get a big school going, we're not going to invest in anything Israel, that hurts the military-industrial complex. That's why cops are coming down cracking skulls. They didn't care what BLM was burning down our cities. They didn't care about that. But the minute you fuck with the military-industrial complex's cash, now we got to send in the...
That's exactly... They were literally burning down police stations. Yeah. And they had to give...
Nancy, there's a... Have you guys seen that video of bin Laden explaining why he attacked? I guess, now that people have access to TikTok and Twitter, that video has been going around. So let me see if I can find that.
Give a fuck.
That's what the Ivy League is, installed to make the managerial class for the peasants. It's always been the military industrial. There was never a point when that was just an institution of learning for the greater good. And they installed it for that reason.
The Ivy Leagues, each school was started by an opium family that made money off the opium trade. And they did that to give their kids a head up on everybody else. What?
That's pretty cool of them.
Yeah.
I'm not,
that's why I got my GED and didn't do college.
That's why. That's a good
GED.
GED. So this guy says even Christians are waking up. My parents lead a Bible study at an assisted living facility, and 4 ladies older than 80 started bringing up what's happening in Gaza and saying they're against it. It took 7 months, but it's happening.
Okay, that's not Christians waking up. That's people being Christians.
Yeah.
If you fought a war and killed other Christians, you're not a fucking Christian.
Right, but even those people who are for all that shit are now against that shit. That's the point. And look at this. It says 7 in 10 U.S. citizens are U.S. likely voters support a permanent ceasefire and de-escalation of violence in Gaza. Look at that. It says strongly support, somewhat support, don't know, somewhat opposed. Hey, what about the people who go, how about if I strongly don't know? How about that? Are there?
Rosie O'Donnell?
I thought that was funnier. Anyway. That's a lot of choices. That's all I'm saying.
But if you also, it's like Israel is just so confined to itself. They say the craziest things because it's so homogenized that nobody checks them. So now you're hearing Benjamin Netanyahu going, we don't need anyone's help. We're going to do what we want. It's like, you're going to lose everybody.
They're like an embarrassing immigrant parent that doesn't know not to use the gay slur.
Yeah, that's right.
You're totally right, bro.
And they didn't have woke for 10 years. They weren't spending the money on Hasabra or whatever the fuck because they thought they had it in hand. So now all these kids that went to NYU and Columbia found out how the sausage is made and they're upset about it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So And it's also spreading to Europe, right? So Palestine solidarity protest camps have hit Europe with students setting up encampments on university campuses across the continent. What began as a militant student movement reminiscent of the Vietnam War era protests in the U.S. has now led to a chain reaction, spreading like wildfire. Students worldwide are occupying their campuses, demanding their universities divest from Israel and put an end to their complicity in the ongoing Gaza genocide.
Oh, wait, Jimmy.
Here's a map. There's a map. So this is all happening in Europe. And there's even one in Ireland. I didn't know they had colleges in Ireland, but there's one. I'm kidding. I'm Irish. I can make that joke.
You can make that joke even if you weren't Irish. It's a good joke.
Okay, thank you. So
I consider them animals. I wouldn't vote for them.
But look at the wording on that, Jimmy. Look at the wording. Radical. What was the word they used to describe anti-war people?
Was radical.
Radical. And you study the CIA, you study the FBI. They really got their modus operandi going. Was all about crushing the anti-war movement. So this is their thing. They're freaking out because they can't control the narrative anymore. They can't control social media like they used to. So this is a big freak out for them right now.
And Jimmy, so here is SNL. Do you want to say something?
Yeah. So you know what I found out? Remember when we had the Air Force guy that lit himself on fire, that fucked up story? And we found out someone else, and I remember we said this on the show, I had no idea another person within the same month had done that. Did you know that was a black woman and not a man?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just found that out. That's how much they suppressed that. They said, oh, just this anti-Semitic guy did that. There was a black woman wrapped herself in a that's crazy to me. So first of all, I didn't hear about it until the other guy. And if you got 3 or more.
So there was a black woman who set herself on fire in front of the Israel embassy in Washington, D.C.
Because she was anti-Semitic, they said.
That did not get reported. And she did it as a protest of what's happening in Gaza. And then there was that, now I feel embarrassed that I can't remember. Aaron Bushnell. Then he was a Navy soldier.
No, he's Air Force.
Air Force.
They found out he was going to have to go bomb Gaza.
So he found out he was going to have to go help them do this. And he was like, I'm not going to do this. And he set himself on fire in front of the Israel embassy in D.C. We found out about that, but we didn't hear about the black woman who did it. That's how much they'll turn on all their love of diversity and right.
Diversity is a strength everywhere but Israel.
That's right. That's right.
Here we're doing stand-up in Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford.
So I'm trying to find this video, but look, all I can find is TikTok's users say they sympathize. TikTok bans content promoting bin Laden's letter. So even if I play this, they're gonna come after me. TikTok removes the hashtag. Oh shit. Look at that. They took it off. So they don't want you to see this video. They don't want you to see why, or in his own words, explaining why you attacked. That's crazy. Okay, what about Twitter? Candace Owens.
Last year in Israel. And what I mean by that, well, here's what I will say, and please don't be angry at me to pointing to the facts here. A lot of things changed, I would say. We'll look back in history and realize that sentiments in America changed following the horrific attacks that happened on October 7th of last year in Israel. And what I mean by that is, obviously, this happened on foreign soil, but this became a very big narrative in America. And basically a bunch of people were saying, you need to pick a side. Like, you need to pick a side right now. People were being called names. And what ended up happening in the process is that people that traditionally were not interested in Israeli foreign politics started getting interested and started researching to learn more about Israel. I by the way, include myself in that class of people and that group people. I was like, I don't really know anything about Israel. And now suddenly I feel like there's a gun in my head and I have to, say what I'm okay with. Let me at least get educated. Well, in the process of Generation Z getting educated, they began circulating Osama bin Laden's letter to America. It went absolutely viral on TikTok. Here's a headline from the New York Times from last year, around that time, published November 16th. It says, videos about bin Laden's criticism of the U.S. surge in popularity on TikTok. The subheading is, the videos discuss a letter from the former al-Qaeda leader wrote in 2012 in which he defended.
So let me ask you guys a question. All right. We live in a country, or we live in a, in a country where it's a good thing when things go viral, right? When things go viral, that's a good thing. They make money. But here's a perfect example of how going viral, is a bad thing. You see? Look. So it's not enough to go viral. You have to go viral in the right way, because if you go viral in the wrong way, check it out. Like you get fucking disappeared.
Ended the September 11th attacks and said Americans had become servants to Jews. Now, why was this a very critical moment? Well, as this article unpacks, suddenly had a bunch of Gen Zers saying and said Americans had become, in which he defended the September 11th attacks and said Americans had become servants to Jews. Now, why was this a very critical moment? Well, as this article unpacks, suddenly had a bunch of Gen Zers saying that they woke up, that suddenly they are realizing that America has been engaged in a lot of evil. They give this example of one TikTok user who was at her kitchen sink with the caption, quote, trying to go back to life as normal after reading Osama bin Laden's letter to America and realizing everything we learned about the Middle East, 9/11, and terrorism was a lie. This article also notes that the hashtag letter to America showed videos with 14.2 million views. So again, overnight, a different narrative was born. And many people were extremely upset about this. It definitely led to a debate. And I will tell you where I stand in the debate. I'm a person that believes that no matter how evil an individual is, we should study the people. I read speeches from former dictators, horrific people. I mean, I'm talking about someone like Vladimir Lenin, Stalin, the things that were done. I will still read their speeches because I think it is important to read those speeches to at least understand how and why people have come to accept evil. But I'll tell you one thing, the mainstream media was not on board with that. And I will tell you another thing, definitively the military-industrial complex was not on board with that, because now you potentially have a generation of kids coming up. They're not going to be so okay with the idea of bombing 1 million Iraqi civilians, as we did, right? So we were looking for weapons of mass destruction. And in the process of looking for weapons of mass destruction that never existed, we bombed 1 million Iraqi civilians. That's a nonsense. That should absolutely be considered a war crime. Again, going back to that letter, however, Meghan McCain tweeted this at that time. I'm so scared of Gen Z because apparently their brains are so poisoned. They think it's cool to share quotes from Osama bin Laden's manifesto on TikTok like that's normal or rational. Like, how do we even fix that? Well, I'll tell you that last question, like how do we even fix that, is pretty relevant to where we ended up today, which is that people want TikTok banned. Right after Meghan McCain tweeted that, by the way, TikTok removed the hashtag letter to America the very next day. But again, now TikTok was in the focus. And I believe in the focus of the military-industrial complex. Like, again, whether you believe that what Osama bin Laden wrote had any merit or not, what you
it's not new, Nancy, but people are are using that letter to criticize what's going on, so they can't have that, apparently.
have to accept is that it radically transforms the opinions of an entire generation. So I'm going to show you this clip. This is Morning Joe in December of last year following this letter going viral, and really what spawned a new debate. Take a listen.
We need to talk about TikTok. TikTok, if you will, is the 24/7 news channel of so many of our young people, and it's like Al Jazeera on steroids, amplifying and intensifying the anti-Semitism and the anti-Zion with no repercussions. I've got to ask, Joe, like there's been a lot of lamentations about the fact that TikTok's ownership is Chinese, but you know what? Oracle owns 10% of the company. General Atlantic owns a piece of the company. Our friends at Sequoia Capital own a piece of the company. So does Sequoia and General Atlantic, does Oracle want to be responsible for spreading anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism? It's time to talk about TikTok.
Government is robbing you, and you're honestly dumb if you haven't caught on. You're supposed to get...
And time it was indeed. By the way, that is Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL. We're going to hear him a bit later as well. I want to be clear on my perspective of him. He's a monster. The ADL is monstrous, and they do nothing but take away American rights and take away American freedoms under the guise of fighting anti-Semitism, right? Anything they call anti-Semitic can suddenly be attacked, and a lot of times they're lying about whether or not these things are anti-Semitic. But parking aside my feelings of Jonathan Greenblatt, Greenblatt, yes, suddenly banning TikTok became a crucial emergency because what they saw was a bunch of young individuals, essentially people that are going to be the future leaders of America, who were not pro-Israel. Gen Z at least was not convinced to support any more wars in the Middle East. So even
TikTokers are irate after the social media platform took down videos of users reacting to a 2-decade-old letter penned by terrorist and al-Qaeda founder Osama bin Laden. In the letter, bin Laden justified crafting 9/11 and castigated the United States, which appeared to draw sympathy from many who claimed they read the manifesto. Some reported feeling disillusioned and said they were undergoing an existential crisis. One user summed it up, posting on X, quote, "Many of them, and I have watched a lot, say it has made them reevaluate their perspective on what is often labeled as terrorism can be a legitimate form of resistance to a hostile power."
Unsurprisingly, critics were quick to pounce on the content creators, including the Daily Wire's Ben Shapiro. Take a look.
We have taught an entire generation of young people that Osama bin Laden has a point. There's been a lot of talk in the aftermath of Hamas's October 7th attack about why is it that young people in the West, Americans, members of the European community, why are so many young people siding with Hamas? And the answer, of course, is because we as a civilization have taught them to side with Hamas. We have taught them that the West is inherently evil, or at the very least morally equivalent with terrorists on the other side of the equation. And they've imbibed from that well. They've been taught that for years and years and years. So when they read Osama bin Laden's letter, you know, there are a lot of people who are wondering, if 9/11 happened today, how would young people react? And the answer is a lot of people would be pro Osama bin Laden. They are now.
And some Republican senators, including Lindsey Graham, had choice words for these new Osama stands.
That is complete BS. If you really think that Osama bin Laden was onto something, go to Afghanistan and see how you like living there. That's his plan for the world. Afghanistan under the Taliban rule is what Osama bin Laden wants for everybody, but he's not around anymore.
The White House has also condemned the TikTokers. White House spokesman Andrew Bates said Thursday that there is never a justification for spreading the repugnant, evil, and anti-Semitic lies that the leader of al-Qaeda issued just after committing the worst terrorist attack in American history, highlighting them as his direct motivation for murdering 2,977 innocent Americans. All right, Jessica, I was disturbed to see this, to say the least. This is propaganda from Osama bin Laden. And when you read to the end of the letter, it becomes very clear that no matter what justification he had for attacking America, that when he says that civilians are fair game because we live in a democratic society and we pay taxes to our government, that, you know, he can go after us with no regard for whether or not people are actually innocent, is the same justification that people use for Hamas killing innocent Israelis, 1,400 of them. And then in the other direction, a lot of people will say that the Israeli government and the IDF are justified in killing Palestinian civilians because they voted in Hamas, you know, a decade ago. So this is the idea that your ideology would require you to say Osama bin Laden might have had a point is somewhat baffling to me.
Right. I think really why young people took to this letter is because we don't really get that side of the story. We really get the side of the story of American imperialism, that there are very bad people that hate America abroad, and that is why terrorism happens. And that when the US intervenes abroad, it's always for democracy, for peace, for international order, to get the bad guys. And I think it's really dangerous when we teach that one-sided history, because then you only get the other side from someone who is a terrorist, someone who is anti-American. And I think that maybe instead we should open people up to the alternate perspective that is not shared only by terrorists, but by foreign policy scholars, that it's incredibly dangerous and it's a human rights violation every single time the United States decides to intervene and coup the democratically elected leader of a nation and extract a bunch of resources and exploit the labor of the people there. I think if they got that in the classroom, this letter wouldn't be so striking to them. But I think for so many people, it was a perspective they had never heard before. And when you're told that terrorists are bad because they kill innocent people, and then you hear that the US government is supporting Israel, killing over 11,000 innocent civilians, you start to question what you've been taught. And so I think the conditions were just primed for people to find something like this and take to it. And it's directly a consequence of the biased, one-sided propaganda we have in traditional media. Kids are bound to find the information somewhere else. And now you see that the letter's been removed all over online. I think people can appreciate the criticism of American imperialism without coming to the conclusion that we must do as Osama bin Laden has done. I don't think any young people that read that letter will become terrorists because of it. So I think it's a free speech issue in its heart of hearts. I don't think it needs to be taken down, but I think the proper context needs to be given to our young people.
The Guardian did upset readers, TikTok, X users, and others when it took down the letter from its site yesterday after 21 years, posting on its webpage, quote, "The transcript published on our website had been widely shared on social media without the full context. Therefore, we decided to take it down and direct readers instead to the news article that originally contextualized it."
TikTok also removed content related to the letter, citing it, quote, "clearly violates our rules on supporting any form of terrorism." This is not unique to TikTok and has appeared across multiple platforms and the media. Journalist Michael Tracy struck a sarcastic tone, writing on X, "Please do not read the letter that explains why millions of people in the world are inclined to hate us, the US and Israel. Instead, for your safety, stick fingers in your ears and repeat, neener, neener, neener." brilliantly said, I think that the letter is circulating now for a reason. And it's because Osama bin Laden penned some valid criticisms of the US support of Israel and Israel's actions in the region. And I think people can take the letter for what it is without the context given in the Guardian's article and say that these are valid and accurate criticisms of the US support of Israel and the founding of Israel and displacement of the Palestinian people. And I think you can agree with those sentiments without agreeing with what Osama bin Laden has said. To take down the content is fascinating when you have a whole documentary on Netflix on the Unabomber, what he stood for and what he did. That did result in a lot of young people sympathizing with the Unabomber. So I think the real reason it's being taken down now is not because the manifesto is going to encourage people to commit acts of terrorism, but because the manifesto and what Osama bin Laden has written directly affects the US support of Israel today and what's going on with the Israel and Hamas war. It seems like a wartime action to take this letter down right now.
I think what's interesting is that a lot of people are glossing over the other parts of the letter that are not justifiable and are not legitimate criticisms, because beyond him just criticizing the U.S. relationship with Israel, he does go into full anti-Semitic language when he talks about how Jews control the U.S. media and the U.S. means of production and how they're basically entirely in charge of U.S. foreign policy, which is far beyond claiming that AIPAC might have too much influence in U.S. elections. I mean, this guy blatantly had hatred for Jews. And in addition to that, he talks about the fact that one of his main criticisms with the United States is not just their so-called imperialism, which is kind of funny because he was fine with it when it benefited him when they were fighting against the Soviets. But he also says that he has a problem with the fact that the United States operates under a democratic regime as opposed to being under Sharia law. And in fact, most of his terrorism leading up to September 11th was in the name of holy war or jihad. It wasn't about fighting against imperialism. This guy was a Nepo baby who was butthurt that Saudi Arabia wouldn't accept his contract to go fight in Kuwait and that they allied with the United States instead. And he didn't want Saudi Arabia to ally with the United States because the United States is not an Islamic country. And so he thought that it wasn't justified for Saudi Arabia to allow them in because they didn't share his religious beliefs. And he threatened the Saudi leaders because of that, got excommunicated from the country and lost his citizenship, and then basically launched his own personal war against everyone who he felt had wronged him throughout his life. So for me, this letter is clearly retroactive propaganda that he was using to justify these attacks. He wrote this again after the attacks took place and is basically trying to take advantage of these people on TikTok who are stupid enough to think that his anti-Americanism came from some legitimate grievance.
In a world where the elite sip water priced like liquid gold, our guests tonight are expecting the creme de la creme of hydration.
I said, darling, I was born a millionaire. Oh. What's it? Yes, thank you.
I think that when you have someone like Osama bin Laden, who at one point was beloved in the United States as a freedom fighter because he didn't believe in the imperialism of the Soviet Union and was running cover stories on The Independent. He wasn't, but there were cover stories profiling him on The Independent because he was this freedom fighter. The United States armed and trained the Taliban when they were originally known as the Mujahideen. This is a problem that the United States has created. And that's why I find it fascinating that similarly, you have the terrorist of the Unabomber being the subject of the CIA mission MK Ultra when he was a student at Harvard. He endured extremely intense experimentation that many psychologists have categorized as psychological torture. And so when we think about many of the enemies of the United States, a lot of them are CIA armed, trained, or created in some way or another. I think when it comes to the youths that are consuming this letter, reading it, saying it really changed their perspective on the world, these are people who are 18 years old. They have experienced the American education system, and that is it. They haven't been exposed to these ideas, and that's the real problem here. When it comes to thinking about free speech, we have to also consider that people will hear some critical things of the United States, that you can't control the media atmosphere in the same way you do a world history classroom or a US history classroom, and that's become very scary for the people in power in this country that are very used to controlling the media. And I don't agree with Osama bin Laden saying that the reason we're in the situation we are in is because there are Jewish people in media, but I do believe we're in the situation we're in because there are very powerful people. There are elites who agree with Israel's mission, and they're unfortunately in a minority in the United States, and we're supposed to have a democracy. 66% of Americans want a ceasefire, and we're nowhere near getting one. And so I think when we consider free speech, we should really give young people that are 18 to 25 who are on TikTok or 18 to 34 who are on TikTok the benefit of the doubt that they can parse through what's in the letter and accept some things as legitimate criticisms and dismiss others. And in a country where we want to have free speech, we have to trust the youth to do that. We can't censor everything we deem anti-American.
Yeah, I agree that I'm anti-censorship. I think the problem here is that these individuals who are consuming this aren't getting the context that they need in order to parse this out and understand where Osama bin Laden was actually coming from and why so many of the things in this letter were abject lies. And you do see in these videos of people talking about how it changed their worldview, a lot of them go on to suggest that Osama bin Laden was justified in what he did. And that's where this problem comes up, where TikTok has to take down videos because it does.
Okay. How about we don't kill people based on religion, huh? How about we stop murdering people based on religion or fairy tales? How about we start doing that? You know? How about let's play it safe and let Let's bygones be bygones instead of killing people over religion. I don't understand that. Like, how what God would want you to kill another person, you know, over their beliefs?
Violate their terrorism policy. And I don't think it's an accident that this was proliferating on a Chinese-owned social media app. The Chinese have a derogatory term that refers to American liberals who hate their own country because they use them as useful idiots repeatedly to help stir up divisive politics in our country because it's convenient for them. Whereas they have all kinds of horrific human rights abuses and all kinds of hypocrisy. And yet they don't hate their own country the way that we do, even though they're objectively far worse than we are. And so they're laughing at us as we have these videos proliferating on social media and our young people going along with this narrative from Osama bin Laden. We're going to have to leave it there. We have more rising after this.
That is a good point. You know, like, should we hate our country? No. We should be working to improve our country, not hate it and try to tear it down. We should try to make the country better. All right, so it's almost 6 o'clock. I'm out of weed. I'm out of weed. This is true, Nancy. This is true. All right, so I'm gonna go clean this mess up. So what do I need gloves and a tripod if I'm gonna videotape myself. All right, so we're gonna do a dirty job, all right? We're not gonna be like Al and Charlie who look down on people who, you know, who are working class and have to clean up, you know. Do you look down on your housekeepers, people? Do you laugh at them and call them, you know, what is it, independent shitter cleaners or whatever they're trying to say that I do? What kind of a man or what kind of piece of shit, you know, looks down on working class people who clean for a living, huh? You've never cleaned a bathroom in your life, you fucking, you know, dirty motherfucker. You never cleaned your fucking bathroom? You're too good to clean your bathroom? You dirty pig. Clean your fucking bathroom, Al and Charlie. Fucking worthless losers. Anyways, so I could be a dick and I could leave the mess for the gardeners, or I could, you know, yep. Exactly, Shells. Or wait till tomorrow and leave it for the elderly, you know, maintenance crew, you know, and let them do it. But no, you know, I'm not an asshole like, you know, like some people are, you know, Al and Charlie. I'm gonna go and help out my fellow man, you know. So I'm not too good to pick up trash. Are you guys too good to pick up trash? Huh? Fucking losers. Yeah, exactly. You know, tell your girlfriend to cool it. Yeah, why don't you go take care of your girlfriend? Oh, that's what it is. Exactly. They're too busy sitting around, you know, yucking it up, right? What's her name? Mother Sucker? Mother Sucker. Anyways, all right. I'm going to set up another stream. So come back in a couple minutes. All right, guys. Have a great day. Stay out of trouble. Beef. Oh, there it is. Yeah. See, he's too good to clean a shitter. You know, he looks down on people. He looks down on working class people who have dirty jobs. You know, because he's too classy and shit. You know. Anyways, have a great day. Stay out of trouble. Don't be a worthless, you know, piece of shit like some people, and all that jazz. Later.